Yesterday we released a video where I made two mistakes. I read Highwayman as Highwayman, and I read Deathmark as Deathmask. Of course, both of these mistakes happened because I am dyslexic, so I can easily have a brain fart when I read. I know, it's ironic when I do nothing but read. But at least Google ensures me that my intellect is fine. So at this point you might be asking, shouldn't you go to sleep? So let's have a look at Piltover and Zaun. Hello everyone and welcome to another video on Legends of Runeterra. This time, as you guys requested, we are going to have a look at Piltover and Zaun. Now, I know that these videos are a little bit longer, despite me trying to make them shorter. However, this time I do believe that this video will be a little bit shorter than the others. And that's because not only do we not get a lot of lore here, but it's also because a lot of the things you will see here should not be considered canon. And that's for one simple reason. You see, whenever we learn something from Legends of Runeterra, that information should be considered canon until it is proven otherwise. By this I mean that whatever we find on the universe will always overpower what we find in Legends of Runeterra. You'll see what I mean by this when we get into specific cases. But because I really want to make this video shorter, let's get right into it. Let's start with Teemo, and those of you who like him should be happy, because out of all of the characters, Teemo actually got the most lore. Or at least we learned something big about his mushrooms. The description says, Bandle Scout Rule 154, Never Fear the Unknown. Rule 276, Denizens of the Woodlands are our friends. Rule 354, if it's fuzzy, it might be safe to pet, but certainly isn't safe to eat. Of course, these are bits of the Scout's code. Then there is the upgraded version with the exact same description, only with a giant poison explosion behind him. And then we get a spell called Mushroom Cloud. First, the soft thump as the PUFFCAP pops. Next, searing debilitating pain. Finally, the distant sound of giggles. Here we learned that the mushrooms are called PUFFCAPs, and they will reappear later a lot. And notice the fellow raccoon below. These will come back later too. And then there is a card simply called Poison PUFFCAP. It has a song that I will not try to sing. Next we have EZREAL. Now, I would like to mention that we should not consider this art canon. For one, we can see some in-game items in the background, including even something so simple such as pickaxe, but on the left you can also see Blade of the Ruined King, and I am not exactly sure if EZREAL actually owns that blade. Because if that blade belonged to the Ruined King, I doubt that EZREAL was able to travel to the Shadow Isles and get it. But the main reason why this shouldn't be considered canon is because there are actual comics on the right. You know, the ones containing Silas and such? I don't need to give you more proof. The description says, impossible is my favorite kind of possible. Which is funny because this entire art is impossible. And then there is the upgraded version of EZREAL. It almost looks like the frosted EZREAL skin, but I don't think that was intended. He just looks blue because of the energy bow. Also, his glove swapped hands. And then there is EZREAL'S Mystic Shot. I never miss, but I have been known to fire a warning shot or two. Of course, that's how he's covering his butt whenever he misses. Next we have JINX'S, another picture that is not entirely canon. And it's not because there is the attack speed boot on the top left, but it's because you can see Mafia JINX'S skin clothing in the background. I mean, she could have that in the canon version as well, but it's a hint that this might be just an Easter egg. The description says, it's all just fun and games until something gets blown up. Then it's a party. The upgraded version is very simple. There is an explosion with robots from her cinematic. Then there is the Get Excited spell. It's just one of JINX'S monkey bombs. And of course there is Super Mega Death Rocket. That's it. And then we get to Heimerdinger. Three things to note here. First of all, he tried to make a machine to dip his cookies in milk. It didn't exactly work out. The second thing is that he's making a saw blade robot. That one will come back later. And in the background you can see a giant robot that looks a little bit like a dinosaur. You'll see what that is later on as well. The description says, mad scientist? Pfft, I'm clearly a very stable if slightly disorganized and SLStic scientist. Thank you very much. And the upgraded version shows you the robot in the background, which turned out to be an actual dinosaur. But don't worry, we'll get a better view later on. Then there is the Progress Day. Of course we know the Progress Day from the stories of Piltover. It's a day during which inventors present their inventions. That's why it's called Progress Day. It's a day the technology progresses further. The description here is a quote from a pamphlet. Progress Day. Celebrate at the Plaza of the Sun Gates. See Hextech wonders. Gasp at the daring Poro. Hear the man of tomorrow speak on the state of today. Free entry. Piltovan children welcome. Couple of things to mention here. First of all, the Sun Gates are an important place in Piltover. Piltover and Zaun serve as the bridge between the eastern and western Valoran. Before Piltover made a massive hole through the rocks and accidentally split the city in two. If you wanted to deliver something from east to west, you either had to load everything on the shores, or you just had to go around the entire continent. The Sun Gates are the massive gates that block the path through the city, so if you wanna sail through Piltover, you have to go through the Sun Gates. Then the pamphlet mentions Daring Poro. Again, if you find a Poro anywhere but in Freljord, I don't think that should be considered canon. And then it mentions the Man of Tomorrow. And of course, the Man of Tomorrow is a title for Jace. Which is funny because Jace doesn't actually reappear in any of the other cards. Unless I missed him somewhere in the background. Anyway, connected to this card is a lot of other robots, so I will not go through all the descriptions, because again, this video will already be too long, so let's just quickly blitz through all the robots. All of these are Heimerdinger's creations. The first one is the WINDUP Shredder, which is the saw blade robot he was working on earlier. Also notice the state of his lab in the background, because as more and more experiments go through, you'll see that they actually damage the lab. The second robot is the WrenchBot. This one was constructed because Heimerdinger only has 2 hands, so he can only hold 2 wrenches. That's why he created a robot to hold more wrenches. Then there is the Evolution Turret. This one was created after Jace's workshop was raided by thieves. Heimerdinger created this robot to defend their workshop. Then there is Floor Be Gone. It's a drilling robot. Then there is Apex Turret, which is just a bigger version of the other turret. This is also his ultimate in the game. Then there is Rocket Blaster, which he originally named Propelled Combustiles, which is just a weird name for missiles. This is how Heimerdinger shoots rockets in the game. Then there is STORMLOBBER, a robot designed to throw Heimerdinger's grenades. Then there is Armored Stomper, a giant mechanical beast designed to obey Heimerdinger's commands. You can see that at this point the state of his lab is not great. But no need to worry, because his last creation is T-Hex, a creation we should not consider to be canon. And that's for 2 reasons. First of all, I believe that this giant mech would be mentioned in a story or 2, but also because of all the Yordles around. In Piltover and Zaun, Yordles are in hiding, because the people of Piltover and Zaun think that they are dangerous. That's why it's rumored that Heimerdinger created Glamour, which is this magical powder that makes Yordle look like humans. I mean, there are 2 possible ways how this could stay canon. Either here we can see them as Yordles, but other people see them as humans. After all, that's how Glamour works. It depends on who is looking at the Yordle. But also, seeing that everyone is a Yordle here, maybe this is a secret Yordle hideout. But even with both of these possibilities, I really don't think we should consider this creation canon in this story. Next, we have Caustic Cask. It's pretty much just a cask full of toxic waste. These things are what cause all the disasters in Zaun. For example, if you know the story of Oriana, I believe that these things are responsible for Oriana's corruption. Then there is Thermogenic Beam. And I really love this card because there is a massive Easter egg here. The description says, "We've exhausted both our time and funds. And though the beam works, we haven't been able to regulate its energy consumption." A quote of a Zaunite experimenter. You see, the Zaunite experimenter talks about this thing as if he didn't know how it works. And that's because nobody knows how it works. Because the thing you are looking at is Zingelo's Incognium Runeterra, an invention whose inventor died, and nobody really knows what the invention is for now. You can clearly say that it is the exact same invention. So now we know that it was designed to make a giant beam. It is really cool because this invention was kept a mystery to us for quite a while, and I love to see bits and pieces revealed about it in Legends of Runeterra. Next there is ASTUTE Academic, a person who is pretty much just an inventor. You'll see a lot of these guys in Piltover, because all the rich families try to get as many inventors as possible, because they are constantly trying to invent the next big thing, so they can have more influence over the city. Then there is a spell called Counterfeit Copies. Again, I am not sure if this should be considered canon as well. I really don't think that Piltover has the technology to copy items. Then there is the Daring Poro. We mentioned this guy in the Progress Day card. He was mentioned as an attraction. And again, I don't think this guy is canon. Get it? Then there is Jury Rig. It's a special controller that when activated will create something special. And from those recognizable eyes you'll know that it creates Crab Scuttler. It's a scuttle crab but mechanical. The description says, everyone tries to chase it down. Poor little thing just wants to play in puddles. That's a reference to the fact that on Summoner's Rift everyone is trying to kill it. Then there is the spell RUMMAGE, which is pretty much just JINX'S weapons. You can see her bullets, her chompers, fish bones, and a unicorn. Then there is Zaunite Urkin, and I love this card. It really shows you the double nature of poor Zaunites. Because they are poor, they really need to find a way how to live there. And with some creativity, they can get by pretty well. For example, here you can see a beggar on the streets. But although that person is begging for money, behind them they have a purse full of money already. That's because by begging and thievery you can make a pretty good living there. That's why you should never really trust anyone in Zone. Then there is Academy Prodigy. The description is just a joke. It says, how does she aim? That's an excellent question. However, the interesting thing is that she is in the deserts. Now, there could be two reasons why that is the case. Number one is that south of Zone you're pretty much getting into the Shuriman continent, so the deserts could be pretty close to Zone. The second reason why she could be in Shurima is because of the hex crystals. Remember that with the story of Camille, we learned that Piltover explorers delve into Shurima. There they look for the sleeping Breckern, and they chop off parts of their bodies because those are hex crystals, and they use them to power up their hextech creations. So this person might be in Shurima because they are looking for more hex crystals. Then we have Boom Crew Rookie, an expert with explosives. I should quickly note that you should remember the massive golem in the background. We'll see that guy again at the very end. But the card connected to the Boom Crew Rookie is the bomb itself. It's an ability called Undermine, which might be a reference to the fact that Zone has a lot of mines around Runeterra, and they usually use explosives to dig there, so it is likely that this is actually a mining bomb. Then there is CHEMPUNK Pickpocket. The description simply mentions that the poor Zonites work together. That's pretty much the only way you can survive there. What's cool here is that this person is wearing a full bodysuit. I believe that they are supposed to be cleaning the streets. But instead of picking up garbage, they are using the device to pick pockets. And then we finally get more of TEEMO'S lore. Remember the raccoon I mentioned at the beginning? Well, there is a lot of these guys in the SUMP levels of Zone. These guys are called WUMPs, and they run around the sewer system to pick up as many as they can. That's simply their work. There is actually a massive PUFFCAP black market ran by these guys. But again, you'll see more on that later. One thing this confirms is that Teemo is getting mushrooms from Zone, which is pretty cool. Everyone expected Teemo to be getting the shrooms from Bandle City, but this makes it so much more interesting. Next we have Flame Chompers, which are the well-known JINX'S grenades. Then there is INTREPID Mariner. Mariner? One of those. It basically says that although many inventors just stay at home and create more inventions, some people dare to explore the world. Which again is quite easy to do because Piltover is the connection between Eastern and Western Valoran. Then there is Scrap-Assembly. An item that creates two Scrap Scuttlers. That's why you have two controllers. Then we have SUMP DREDGER. The description says, in the SUMP, waste is never wasted. I really hope that Wright will keep this guy canon. He looks really cool. And it would be interesting to see random robots trying to survive in the SUMP. Then there is the SUMPWORKS map. It's a secret map of what really is below Piltover. The description says, Pilties always think they know everything, but their maps only show them the places we told them about. Nothing like local knowledge, which you can have for a price. Quote of Lamp, SUMP Snipe Scavenger. Then there is Amateur Aeronaut. The description describes what happened to this fellow. Personal flying machines. A pipe dream. I just had my apprentice throw the latest prototype out, in fact. Now, where is he? You see, it was just a prototype, and you can see the engine breaking apart. I think it's safe to say that this guy will need a new limb or two. Then there is AssemblyBot. It's important to make friends. It's a robot that assembles other robots. Then there is Eager Apprentice. Nothing really special here, but it's cool that you can see toys being made in the background. There are some action figures, planes, and even a tank. This might be a reference to Oriana's story, where her father had a toy shop, so these kinds of toys might be quite popular in Piltover. Then there is Golden CRUSHBOT. It's a robot with giant shoes. But then there is Parade Electro Rig. These machines parade through the city during the Progress Day. The boom of the cannons drew crowds towards the plaza, eager to see the show. It would take them weeks to wash the last of the confetti from their hair. So yes, the massive cannon at the front is a confetti cannon, which still doesn't explain what's all the electricity about. It seems dangerous, but it might be just for cool looks. I tried to look through all the crowds, but I couldn't find anyone we know. If you guys find anyone, feel free to tell me. There is a cool Yordle who seems to have a guitar. And now we have the PUFFCAP peddler. He's peddling around the city with a bunch of PUFFCAPs. Now the awkward thing is that these PUFFCAPs are a drug. And from the way this guy is buying it, it seems to be illegal as well. The description says, these any good? Of course, they are all top notch. Spoke to them myself. Okay, hand them... Wait, what? Getting married this one. How many have you had? To a barnacle. So this guy is selling them, but he might be also consuming them. Either way, you can see the raccoons on the left. They are the guys who traded the PUFFCAPs in. and the PUFFCAP peddler is only the middleman. He is then selling them to other people. Next we have Rising Spell Force, which is just a spell showcasing EZREAL'S Glove of Nazook. Then there is Used CASK Salesman. These people are the reason why there are so many disasters in Zone. They are selling used waste as if it was new. Then there is Back Alley Barkeep. And I absolutely love this art because it really shows you what a bar in the Sump might look like. You got bunch of people with augments drinking questionable drinks. Also, looking at this tube of liquid, I wonder what this guy has inside his head. Also, I wonder what these guys are up to. Then there is CHEMPUNK. And this, ladies and gentlemen, is the queen of the wumps. She is selling all the PUFFCAPs to the peddler. I have to say, I love that PUFFCAP shirt. And then there is Eminent Benefactor. I was an angry man then, and broke my competitors as I acquired money and fame. I now direct my fortune towards altruism, and hope that my penitent winter will absolve me of my misdeeds. It's pretty much a guy who did everything to become rich and famous, but now that he is both, he's able to give it away. Then there is Professor Von Yip. Remember this person because he's quite crazy, as you'll see. Today I present to the committee my newest invention, as demonstrated by my esteemed colleague. Of course, his colleague is his cat. Spoiler alert, he might be a little bit crazy for cats. Then there is Shady Character, and I absolutely love this guy. You see, this character are two yordles in a suit, but the more you dig into this, it gets even better. As you can see, they are trying to get into a private place, and they dressed up using bunch of scrap, held together by duct tape. And the description says, "Hello fellow camp barons," because the place where they are getting isn't just any private place, it's a camp baron meeting. And that is absolutely hilarious because that's supposed to be the most brutal place in Zone. These guys also have the ability called Impersonate, which is a reference to definitely not Blitzcrank, definitely not a pair of yordles in a suit. Then there is Static Shock, which describes how Heimerdinger discovered Arc Discharge. Someone was killed during the process. Then there is Sump Snipe Scavenger, and this person is quite cool. Because if you look at the goggles, this really seems to be Echo's friend. You know, the guy who gets shot in the alley later. But it's cool that this guy is saving animals, which makes his fate that much crueler. You can see that he gave a bird new wings, he gave a pug new eye, and he gave this other dog new legs. And he even made a cat not scratch itself. And don't forget the new tail of the chameleon. Two interesting things here. On the right you can see more PUFFCAPs, but on the left you can see two wanted posters. One of them is definitely Warwick, and the other one looks like Echo. But the reason why I don't think it's Echo is because the mohawk on this poster is not centered. It's more on the right side, and Echo's mohawk is dead center. I don't know, it might be just a detail, but these cards are known for their details, so I don't think something like that would slip by. So in the end, I don't think it is Echo. Also, why would Echo be wanted in Zone? Then there is CHEMPUNK Shredder. No point going through the description, this guy is not canon anyway. In this picture, you can see Jenna, Mundo, JINX'S, Twisted Fate and Singed. I strongly doubt all of these guys would go to the same concert, especially Jenna. Even though Jenna being here is a really cool reference to her story. Remember, Jenna is a wind spirit, and she is in Zone to clear the air of pollution. Also, the guitar is called Face Melter. Then there is Funsmith. It's a person who creates fun weapons for the shooting range. You can see all sorts of weapons here. Some shoot squishy balls, others shoot boxing gloves. We are not exactly sure how lethal these guns are, but at least the name really fits this person. Then there are the Maidenstoke henchmen. These are the guys camp barons usually send somewhere to destroy everything. Usually that's the case when someone doesn't pay their debt. Next we see the reason why Von Yip is a madman. In the end, all of us who worked on Von Yip's vision were deceived. We knew not what we wrought, what terrible power we would unleash. Quote of a Piltover project engineer. You see, everyone thought that they were making a fun toy for his cat, but that's not what they were making. The creation was the cataclysm. Get it? Your end is meow. I really don't think that's canon. Then there is Unstable Voltician. It's an engineer who got his license revoked, because he destroyed his lab too many times. Then there is Augmented Experimenter. A person who lost both of his arms during his experiments. But that didn't stop him from experimenting even more. And the second card connected to this shows him during a success. Then there is Flash of Brilliance. Honestly, I have no idea what this is supposed to be. It almost looks like a flash grenade. Then there is Hextech Transmogulator, which can turn you into something else. For example, in this case, someone wanted to lose weight. And so the inventor turned them into a yordle. I call success. Again, I don't think this is canon, because according to the lore, Yordles are actually trying to stay hidden in Zaun and Piltover. I don't think that they will be turning other humans into Yordles. That is, if this is a Yordle invention. Maybe that's how they get glamour. Ooh, that's a theory crafting right there. What if this invention steals human appearance, and it can give it to another Yordle? That's a theory to remember for the future. Then there is unlicensed innovation. You can see some rusty parts in the box, because the parts put together an illegal steam golem. Then there is True Shot Barrage. When you've got talent, there is no such thing as lucky shot. Quote by Ezreal. Then we have Corina Veraza. The narrow-minded Piltovans know only gears and metal, and cannot appreciate the delicate art in every stem, every petal, every cell of my cultivar. I will craft an undeservedly graceful doom. See, from the stories, we knew that there are places like these in Zaun. There are places where people keep massive amount of plants. That's because fresh air is quite a commodity in Zaun, and so they need these plants to be able to even breathe. And in some of the older pictures, you can see some places glowing, and usually these are the hidden gardens of Zaun. And then there is the ability called Magnum Opus, which is just one of the flowers that are supposed to be deadly. We are just not sure what the flower really does. But then there is J. Medarda, the heir to the Piltover's prestigious clan Medarda. Unlike his father, who is responsible for running the entire clan, J. Medarda just prefers hunting for artifacts. I wonder if he ever meets Ezreal, because these two would be quite a duo. Anyway, of course we know Medarda really well. It appeared in numerous stories before, and Clan Medarda is one of the most powerful houses in Piltover. Of course, we also know the Medarda Heirloom, which is a trade map with all the places around Piltover. And the last card we have here is the Plaza Guardian. I told you the golem from before would come back, and here it is. But that's pretty much it. I know it's not really a climactic ending. So instead, did you notice that in Professor Von Diep's card, there is Heimerdinger in the background? That's a better ending. As I said before, a lot of these cards from Piltover and Zaun aren't really considered canon, because the stories from Universe overpower a lot of these cards. Especially a lot of the cards where you can find Yordles. And you know, most of the Zaunite characters in one concert. But with that said, that is going to be it for the cards of Piltover and Zaun. Again, feel free to tell me in the description which region we should have a look at next. We are still missing Noxus or Demacia, both of which have some really cool references. So, with that, again, thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you next time. Hey, did you know that we have social media and Twitch where we talk about other League facts and stories? And did you know that we have neat mugs and shirts too? The links to all of that will be below. And as always, thank you, come again.